Welcome to Redbeard and the Den of Tools. Howdy ho, guys and gals, it's Red, your friendly neighborhood tool bear, back again here in the Den of Tools. And today we're talking about how not to buy a table saw. Yeah, a great cabinet saw like this is probably the top, very tippy top of the wish list for most of the guys and gals on the channel here. And I gotta agree with them. I don't know there's any of us who wouldn't love to get our paws on something like this. But you know, we live in the real world where you actually have to pay for stuff, and getting something like a cabinet saw is out of most people's budget. So often they turn to the used market, and I'm often, the first one to suggest that you do so. In fact, if any of you have watched my 4-part buyer's guide to table saws, you would note the first thing I suggested was get a used one off of Craigslist. Unfortunately, though, there's a lot of people on Craigslist who, let's just see, they think an awful lot of themselves in their table saw, and they might need an intervention like Steve here. Of course, in Steve's case, it's more like he's a hipster. Obviously, that's what all his friends are talking to him about. But in this case, we need to talk to some of those folks out there on Craigslist and inform them that we know they have a problem. Everyone but them can see it, and it's time that they got some help. So let's go through and help identify some of these problem children on Craigslist, shall we? Okay, but before we get too far in it, we need to set some baselines. So we have a reasonable expectation as to what a new saw would cost were we to go out and just buy something. Now, I think one of the best deals for an inexpensive saw out there for anyone getting started, just need a cheap, decent table saw, is the Cobalt job site saw. 3 or 4 times a year, they drop it down to this price of $179. And at $179, that's a screaming deal. Well, let's say you want something a little more robust, something a little bit more professional. Well, then let's look at the Ridgid. Ridgid has a very decent job site saw for $370. But you want something that's just around the shop. You don't care about whether it folds or not, and you want something really substantial. Well, then I give you the Ridgid 13-amp, 10-inch professional cast iron top table saw. The alternative here to the Ridgid, if you don't want to go with the Ridgid, is my personal choice, and that's the Delta. This is a great saw. It has a true Bessemer style fence. That's because Delta bought them a while back. Both these saws are $600, but with some creative, clever financing deals, you can get that down close to $500. All right, here we go. For only $250, you can get this genuine table saw in good condition. No, there's no fence. There's no table. You get that for $250. What could go wrong, right? And one of the things I want to talk about real quick is you're going to find a lot of these saws on Craigslist. Not this particular saw, but I've seen saws like this for $50. And even at $50, I would say don't buy that saw because you would be surprised what it's going to take to make that saw really operational. You want a good fence to add to that saw? There you go. $220. That's a great fence. But I've shopped around quite a bit, and you're not likely to find a brand new table saw fence that you could put on, pretty much any table saw for less than that. Now that will give you a great fence. And if you can find a good saw to put this fence on at a great price, then by all means do it. But understand, $220. Let's look again at this saw. If we're getting this, let's say for $500, it's on sale or we got a coupon or whatnot, then you take off $220 off of that. Let's say $200 because you use a coupon on the other one also. That means that saw you have to buy has to be less than $300. I would say it has to be significantly less than $300 to make it worth the effort and the time of building it up, because I could just go out and buy one of these. So let's keep that in mind. Next, on the it just needs a little something category, we have this Craftsman table saw with a 9-inch blade. It says it has a rip fence and a cast iron tabletop with cast iron side wing there. What does a duck with one wing do when he tries to fly? He quacks up. Yeah. And you might get that much use out of a one-winged table saw here also. So what it looks like here is we got an old vintage Craftsman saw somebody put on a base. They've got one wing. You can get another wing for between $50 and $100. But at that point, you're getting up close to those newer saws, so why bother? Here we go. We got a Delta Rockwell table saw for only $400. Oh, where's my wallet? I have it around here somewhere. Solid vintage table saw in great condition. Sorry, good condition. It's a table saw with joiner combo, but is missing the joiner. So it's not a combo then, what we mean here. And when it is a Delta, people get really sold on those names and think they've got something special, but it's missing a little something. And I'll be honest, even if it had it, it's not worth that much. Here we go. Here's a good example of a local business who is hoping that you don't know how much these things actually sell for. They've got right now a rigid 15 amp corded portable table saw with stand. And remember, they have incredible selections of pricing below wholesale. Below wholesale. Dude, that's above retail. I don't know what these people are thinking. All right, the next category is going to be our craftsman / rigid / Emerson table saws. And I'm going to lump them all together because Emerson is the company behind most of these, and they all have basically the same kind of components, often interchangeable. So we're going to try and lump all these types together. So we've got here, you can tell by gray that it's the original Emerson rigid professional table saw. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this is a great saw. I think it's an excellent saw at, I don't know, $150, maybe $200. $450. Yikes. Oh, it's got retractable caster wheels for easy moving. Sorry, Ken, but at $450, it's not moving anywhere. We've got another rigid Emerson one. Ooh, it's belt driven. They're all belt driven, just so you know. $440. Oh, jeez. Oh, and it's been price dropped by an entire $26 for quick sale over the weekend. Yeah, I don't think quick is what's going to happen to that saw. Oh, here's something to check out, though. This really adds value to it. It comes pictured with the original owner's manual in English, French, and Spanish for local pickup only, because you're not going to ship it. At $440, you should offer to ship that thing. You'd still make a profit. Here's another craftsman. Now, he's offering this for sale with a couple Hitachi nail guns, a 16 and a 23. Now, I looked these up and knew that's about $350 worth of stuff. So that takes it down to $450. It's got a router, $350. Even at that price, and that's if those were new, still in the box. Even at that price, this thing is not looking great. And if you look at that right wing and the extension on that, it's looking a little janky. I think we're going to have to stamp this one with a pass also. Another craftsman contractor's table saw. Yeah, contractor. A lot of times they try to throw that out there to make you think it's more robust or something. Anyway, it's belt driven. Yeah. Has a built-in router table. There you go. The router and other accessories are included in the price. I think at $500 for a saw that is older than all of my children combined, it darn well better be. One thing I want to point out with these Craftsman Emerson style saws is this fence system here. It has this weird kind of S-curved tube. It's like a half tube system or something. It clamps on the front, but it also clamps down on the back. This is not a true T-square style fence. These, in fact, they're notorious for being inaccurate. This is the kind of fence where you'd have to keep a square with you, and every time you lock up the fence, check it. Now, if you're getting this thing for $100, that's something I could live with. At $500, it's not. I'm sorry. Here we go. Ferris, Texas has a Craftsman table saw with molding attachments for only $300. It looks like somebody has painted this saw. Now, it does have an interesting fence on it. It's the tube style fence, but it is, again, the kind that clamps at the back. There's some of your attachments that it comes with. It's not a bad saw. It really isn't, but it looks like someone's painted the entire work surface. Now, that could be an issue depending on how even that paint is. Another thing to be aware of is these wings are stamped steel. They are not, the center's cast aluminum, but the wings are not. And at $300, I'm sorry, Maybe at 100, maybe 150, but not at $300, guys. Next on our list of shame, the Craftsman portable 10-inch table saw for $350. Now here's one thing to watch out when you're looking for this style of saw. There is actually a cult following for these saws, and he may honestly get that asking price because of it. This saw has a sliding table side over here, and on this other side it's got a router insert attachment. This saw was also made in this identical setup by Ryobi. They're interchangeable, and as I said, there is a wicked strong cult following for these saws. I had a neighbor who had one, and he loved it. He swore by it. But because there's a cult following with this, you're not going to find those for less than that price. Of course, if you keep it in good condition, you could probably sell it for that price because, you know, there's other people out there who need an intervention as well. All right, and for the last of the Craftsman saws, for only $225, you can pick up this. Now, it says it has got a 2 horsepower phase 1 motor. To be fair, most of these motors that come with these Craftsman saws can be run on 110 or 220. Now, here's something to look out for. A lot of times you'll see, oh, it's 3 horsepower. Like you see on this one, 3 horsepower. You're not going to get 3 horsepower out of 110. There's just not enough juice in that pipe to push that motor that fast. You're only going to get those kind of numbers out of 220. The best you can hope for is around 1.5 out of 110. And then on top of that, there's just the condition of the saw itself. 225. Oh, we hope and we dream, don't we? Yes, we do. All right, moving on. Deltas are where it's at. Apparently, if it says Delta on the side, it's made out of solid gold. Because you can get this used Delta stand, needs fence, and a wing, and an alignment, and a whole lot of love for only $185. I realize it says Delta, but these saws were never even the top of the line for Delta as it was. And, oh, I take it back. There are 2 wings there. He's bolted them together. Oh, jeez. Well, if any of you want to pay $185 for that without a fence, now realize you're going to be at $400 with a good fence, maybe at $300 with a used fence. Again, that gets the Bears stamp of disapproval. Next on our Delta Do Not Buy list, a 10-inch contractor saw in Pennington, New Jersey for $550, selling a can you use that verb like that? Limitedly used one-owner Delta 10-inch contractor saw. Working condition, I should hope so. Has a 1/2 horsepower Delta motor in it. Sits on a homemade locking rolling platform for easy moving. $550 or best offers will be considered. All right, here's another style fence that I don't know if we've seen yet before. It's this true tube steel style of fence. This is a real old school fence and really shows the date of this saw. Sadly, they were not very good. They were not good at keeping square, and that's why you don't see them around anymore. Of course, the good news is, after you pay $550, you won't be able to buy any hardwood. You'll be too broke. Oh, and there's surface rust included. Don't be scared away from a saw just because of a surface rust. That just means there's a little bit of elbow grease you're going to put into it. I fixed up many an old tool that I got at a great discount because it was rusted. I didn't pay $550 for them. Speaking of something that needs a little love, from his uncle's shop. It's been sitting there for a while, but it works perfectly. It's a Delta saw for only $1,500. Oh! Oh, jeez, what are these people smoking? Just stop. Step away from the keyboard. Back up. Oh my gosh. If you live near this guy, please, he's in the East Valley of somewhere. Near Phoenix. He's in the East Valley near Phoenix. If you know this person, or if you are this person, please seek help. Oh, and our next Delta addict, Delta Rockwell. They were kind of a Delta owned Rockwell for a while. Rockwell owned Delta was for a while. Anyway, here's a 10-inch for only $525. Built to last, no aluminum. No aluminum anywhere. Cast iron table, belt drive, includes dado blade. That better be a heck of a dado blade. Well, as he states here, it can be wired for 220 or 110, which is pretty common on most of these. This is not a terrible saw, but it is not by any means up to date. And that's the other thing you gotta remember when you're buying these older saws. You're not going to get a riving knife. You're not going to get a good fence on it. You're not going to get a lot of the safety features you see on the newer saws. Will that motor be reliable? Probably, but you don't know what it's been through as well. $525. You could have that, or you could have this. Oh, such a tough choice. Another item you'll often see on the old Craigslist are the homemade tool sets. Here's somebody who's built a saw router multifunction table, and he's selling it for only $350. He's got a couple steel tube pipes there. He's built a base for it. He's got his Makita saw in there. Oh, he's got a skill saw underneath. Now, notice that's not the worm drive. That's just your basic cheapo box skill saw. There's a router in there as well. Look at that table saw. Wow, the craftsmanship on that. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad setup for a home shop if you built it yourself. But for $350, seriously. All right, next we're going to talk about Shopsmith. Yeah, as many of you keen-eyed individuals have noticed, I've had a couple Shopsmiths in my garage. I've wanted one since I was a little cub. I saw one at the Iowa State Fair, and I thought that thing was just amazing. And I picked my first used one up about 6 or 7 years ago. I think I paid $225 for it. That's it right there. And as I got more tools, I stopped using the other functions of the Shopsmith because, I had dedicated tools. But inevitably, you will find other people go through the same kind of evolution with their Shopsmith, and it ends up being a vertical drill press. And I'll tell you this, as a multifunction tool, it's mediocre at everything except for being a drill press, at which it's excellent at. Unfortunately, you've got that whole sawhorse kind of thing behind it, but I made up for that by turning that into a workbench. I built a little torsion box, put some of my small benchtop tools on it, and, used that space, so it wasn't wasted. So I'm not a saw stop hater, but I'm also not suggesting you pay $3,000. Now, the Mark V Model 510 means it has a little bit extras. It's got a better table system than the regular 500, but not a whole lot better. I'm going to say this. Don't buy a Shopsmith as a table saw. It is a rickety table saw. It's dangerous. The blade is open and exposed at the bottom. It does a lot of things fairly well. There's some things it doesn't do a great job of, and you can use it as a table saw, but unless you are really confined for space, I would say avoid that function. Apparently, I really got scammed when I sold mine. Not as badly as when I bought it. I scammed that dude, apparently. So yeah, $3,000. I'm sorry. Over in Green Mountain, Lakewood, you need a 12-step program from your Shopsmith. All right, so I tormented you with saws you shouldn't buy. And I'm sure there's some of you who are sitting out there going, well, you keep saying that there's these great deals out there, but I never find them. It does take some time to go looking for them. You're not just going to whip up Craigslist on day one and find what you're looking for. But just to show you, there are good saws out there. Here's a great budget solution. Craftsman 10-inch saw, just like ones that we saw here earlier. Look at this. It comes with the clamping miter attachment. You have a full cast iron tabletop. This is a robust, if not feature-rich saw, but it's also $125. That's over in Bristol, PA. If you're in the Bristol, PA area looking for a good cheap saw, I would snatch that up in a heartbeat. Here we are in the Portland, Oregon area, Oregon City. Here's a Delta industrial saw for $125. Kind of similar to that other one, except this one actually has a real, actual Bessemer style T-square fence. That fence alone, you're going to pay more than $125 for. This is a great saw for that price. Remember those Emerson rigid saws? Yeah. Here's what you're looking for. $175. It's got the wheel system, easy. You press down on that, it pops up on the wheels. You can move it where you want. Has a full cast iron top. This one also has the clamping miter attachment. Those things are great if you can get your hands on it. In fact, you know who makes the best version of that? Shopsmith. If you can find a Shopsmith clamping miter attachment for under $60, snag that immediately. They are fantastic. Say you want something a little bit more. You want to go up to kind of a cabinet saw. This one's kind of hard to say. They call it a cabinet saw. It's not rated as a cabinet saw, but I actually have a version of this saw right now. Granted, I paid $100 for mine. But this saw, if I'm not mistaken about the model, the motor mounts are actually mounted to the cabinet. So this could technically be considered a cabinet saw. A lot of hardcore, woodworkers won't call it a cabinet saw because the cabinet doesn't go all the way to the ground, because that's what's important. But it is technically, I would say, a cabinet saw. It needs some love, but that's a great fence system on there. And again, look at this. What is the deal here? Everyone who has a reasonable price seems to be selling them with the clamping system. Looks like somebody spilled some paint or something. There's some light rust over here or such. It needs some love, but I mean, that's a great motor on there. It doesn't look like it's in bad condition, and that's $250. $250. If you're near Fishtown, Philadelphia, you go buy that now. And remember my beloved Delta table saw? $350 in La Mesa. Almost new, $350. You might be able to talk them down to $325. That's a great deal right there. I'd go and snatch that one up in a heartbeat. And let's say you want something really robust. Nothing says table saw like Unisaw. The Delta Unisaw is the gold standard in my book. And for $400, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a project. But it comes with a Bessemer fence. Everything about the saw has seen, as he says, but he's honest, everything about the saw has seen better days. It runs on 220. My guess is you might be able to rewire it for 110. And if not, you can buy a brand new 110 motor for about $150. And even at $500, this saw would be a screaming deal. You see these on sale all the time for $1,000 or more, especially with an extended fence system like that. Heck, you could probably sell the 220 motor that's in it. He said it's fairly new. You could probably sell the motor that's in it and use that to pay for a brand new motor and not even be out any money. This thing is a beast with a full cast iron top. Oh, that is a beautiful saw, and it will clean up nice. Trust the bear on that one. All right, guys and gals, that's all the bear has for you today. Be safe, be smart when you're out there shopping for a used one. If you got any questions, if you find something that you're thinking about, post it down in the comments below, or better yet, go over to our Facebook page and say, hey, I'm looking at buying one of these. What do you guys think about it? And myself or someone else will chime in and let you know the real deal on it. So take care, and as always, shine on. Thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to help support the channel, the easiest way is our 1, 2, 3 method. First, chomp that like button, give us a thumbs up, spread the word with the share, and subscribe and ring the bell. Remember, if you don't ring the bell, YouTube doesn't really believe that you want to watch the videos. But maybe you'd like to take it a step further. Maybe you want to go over to Patreon and consider subscribing to the channel for only $1 a month. You can become a Black Bear member and help support the Den of Tools. Also, YouTube now allows us to sell merch directly on each video. Yeah, if you scroll down below the video, right where you see the description, right below that, you should start seeing a little pop-up window that shows you some of the Den of Tools merch. Or pick up a copy of the Home Distiller's Workbook, your guide to making moonshine, whiskey, vodka, rum, and so much more. And we still have the Da Bear shirts available. Links to those items, as always, are in the description below.